So to discuss this significant day of the International Women's Day, we are joined by founder NAF Foundation, Nafisa Atiku. Thank you so much, Madam Nafisa, for joining us.
Hi, thank you. Happy International Women's Day, and I hope you can hear me.
Of course, we can hear you. Of course, you did watch that particular report, and we know that International Women's Day is all about gender balance, equality, support, justice for women. In this part of the world, let's say Nigeria, would you say women are being valued and celebrated enough?
Personally, no, I don't think so. I think we have, gone through a process where we've said, okay, we need to have gender equality. What does gender equality look like? What's the process of awareness? How do we get people to understand really what are the principles of gender equality? And now we are grappling with what I would see as, social norms. The fact that people try to do tokenistic things to commemorate the day or to pay lip service to gender equality. And I think that the theme for this particular IWD 2025, which says accelerate action, is apt because we know what to do. How do we then accelerate action to be able to see the impact of what we need to see in terms of gender equality? The statistics say that if we continue to go the way we are going, we will, nearest time, we will have comprehensive holistic gender equality in the year 2150. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to be alive by that time. I would want to see at least a substantially gender equal world. But we really need to put our money and investment and resources where our mouth is. We can't continue to do the hashtag IWD 2005 or whatever the year is, but the recognizant effects are not showing in our society today. We cannot continue to see young women being beaten up, being killed, women being locked out of political circles or being suspended. I'm sure we know what we're talking about. While we still go out and challenge IWD to 2025, women are tired and women are really tired of the rhetoric over and over again. It's time for us to accelerate some action and put some, gas into the pedal.
So what kind of, acceleration would you be clamoring for in terms of probably policy changes that can help accelerate the rights of the woman being upheld?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So first things first, I'm going to start off with the 5 gender bills that were thrown out in the last National Assembly. Now we have a lot of conversations going around the special seats bill, reserving special seats in the National Assembly for women to then take as their own quotas of political power. Those are the kind of conversations we should be talking about, because when we talk about women's inclusion, especially when it comes to politics, there are systemic and institutional issues and processes that cause that kind of exclusion. It's not ordinary, it's intentional. It is creatively put into the system. So those are the kind of how will I put it, efforts and processes that we should be seeing, that we can say that is accelerating action. The second part I'm going to talk about is investing, actually putting resources when it comes to gender equality issues, from when it comes to education to health, to non-profits that are furthering, the aspirations of women, across the African continent and even in Nigeria. These are the kind of tangible investments that we need to be seeing. If we say we want women to occupy, then give them the room to occupy.
Nafisa?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. I thought I actually lost you for a moment there. All right, so let's now look at the interwovenness of gender, race, socioeconomic status in your advocacy work. How do you determine the outcome? What are the things you feel should be changed?
Okay, so basically in my field, we look at those things and we call them intersecting vulnerabilities, where due to either your race or your economic status or your gender, those things intersect to put you in a level of vulnerability in a particular society. So when we talk about, what are the steps we need to take to deal with some of these issues, the first things first is that you can't use a one hammer in terms of one solution to fix all those problems. There needs to be a level of creative thinking, inclusiveness in the solutions in which you are mapping out in terms of the interventions. for both women, young women, people living with disabilities, people, who are living below a particular economic strata. We need to be creative. We need to be inclusive, and we need to think out of the box. We can't just say, we're taking grinding machine, and grinding machine is what we're going to do for everyone. No, those methods and solutions are outdated. We need to think a lot more inclusively and creatively, knowing that our our demographic is intensely diverse. So you think about the persons who don't have access, the people who are living with disabilities, those who are from a particular area in the country which they don't have access to resources. So it really does call for a lot of inclusive, creating, and out of the box thinking. And again, matching investment with words, putting your resources where your mouth is.
Yeah, talking about investments, let's look at issues around gender pay gap. What can be done? Not only that, even we're talking about gender pay gap and violence, gender-based violence. What can be done to actually see that women are economically viable, they're part of the decision-making process, and are protected from violence against them?
Well, that's a really loaded question, right? But when we want to talk about, economic empowerment and gender-based violence and making sure that women are on that table and the whole gender pay conversation, in fact, when it comes to Nigeria, you're even lucky if you know what your other colleague is being paid. That's how the sense of lack of transparency and accountability and also those compensation conversations can be very funny. But women do need to be able to be paid, at the same going rate in terms of their capability, their skills, and their professional qualifications. That goes without being said. Also, when it comes to issues of gender, gender-based violence, it's how do I put it? It's like a multi-hydra-headed monster that needs to be tackled. And you tackle it by dealing with different things. We all know that the underlying root or the foundation for which of those things, all these things, gender-based violence actions come up, is because of harmful social norms that put women in a lesser power dynamic than men, in society. Like it or not, we all function according to power dynamics. So because of the particular norms and cultures and traditions that we have, we see women, young women, or whoever it is, being put on a lower power dynamic and being more successful to gender-based, because it's permissible. Gender-based violence has now been seen as part of our culture, which it shouldn't be. So a critical part is dismantling those, those norms. Another critical part is that we have JBB First Responders, we have the Dorothy Njamazi Foundation, we have the Mirabel Foundation, right, in Lagos, one in Abuja. How are we supporting those shelters to be able to make sure that they're providing the kind of care? Then the third thing I'm going to talk about is deterrence. What are our laws like? Thankfully for the VAP Act, right? But what are our laws like? What are the judicial? How is justice accessible to survivors of gender-based violence? And how is that forming a deterrent, right? I like what Titilayo Vivo is doing in Lagos State, right? They are basically bringing, perpetrators to account. But when perpetrators do see that there is a deterrent for their acts in society, they are able to say, you know what, I'm not going to this because I'm going to be thrown in prison for life. Those are different aspects that we need to think about, and also the conversation of economic empowerment. So women wouldn't stay in some marriages or some situations if they had a place to go or they had the financial means to put themselves somewhere else. So it goes down to the whole conversation of education. How are we making sure that women are educated? How do we have access to well-paying jobs? How are we sure that those jobs are in themselves well-paying? Right. So these are conversations that need to happen with public and private stakeholders, in every retrospect. But it is a very huge problem, multi-hydra-headed problem that we need different, solutions to tackle it.
And we hope that advocates, of course, we hope that advocates will be able to bring all these solutions to bear to advance the cause of women, not only in Nigeria, but in Africa and all over the world. Nafisa Atiku, founder, NAF Foundation, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
All right.